The Golden Generation. They could all play, but since they all hung up their boots, who has become the best manager? Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join us to discuss which of the fabled Golden Generation has become the best manager. Who are the Golden Generation? Well, as the Premier League boomed around the turn of the century, so came a brilliant crop of England players, all together, all at the same time. They were going to win us the World Cup, but they never did. In order to make this video, I've had a look at the Euro 2004 England squad. So before we get to the honourable mentions, you will not be hearing about Rio Ferdinand, who was of course banned for that tournament, and Michael Carrick, who has managed at Manchester United this season, indeed, wasn't yet in the England setup. Let's have a look at these honourable mentions then. So from the England 2004 squad, the players that have never become managers tend to split into two camps, either TV media and coaches. So they may become managers. In terms of the TV media side, Darius Vassell is fairly quiet, but does bits and bobs for Manchester City's in-house stuff. Paul Robinson you can find on Sky. Michael Owen, when he's not with his racehorses, you can find on BT. Owen Hargreaves, the same, tends to be used for some European stuff. The most popular probably is Jamie Carragher, who we find regularly on Sky Sports. Wayne Bridge had a bit of a dabble in reality TV in a couple of different series. And David Beckham almost lives in a sort of reality of his own. He is in fact the owner of a club that is actually going to employ one of the managers we're about to talk about. In terms of coaching jobs, plenty of the Golden Generation have been involved, still are, or may get back involved. Kieran Dyer at Ipswich is sort of on a sabbatical now with some health problems. Joe Cole stepped away from Chelsea. I think maybe he prefers the TV. Nicky Butt was at Manchester United for the longest time, but stepped out when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. Ledley King, the same with Jose Mourinho at Spurs. John Terry is an interesting one. I suspect he will become a manager at some point. He's been assistant to Dean Smith at a high level at Aston Villa, and he is waiting in the wings for something. Ashley Cole has just recently joined a name that we will mention later in the video as a coach at Everton. After all of that, we're left with 10 names. We're going to rank them imminently, but first, do please hit that like button if you're enjoying the video. Even better still, subscribe, and we are going to go ahead and rank the fabled Golden Generation from worst to best as managers. Number 10, Emile Heskey. He was beloved by managers and strike partners alike, and he's managed one football match in his career in his capacity as director of sort of football operations for Leicester City's women's team. Heskey, in between managers, took charge of one game in December, I think, a cup game against Manchester United, and he won. He won on penalties, but we don't really have a big enough sample size to put Heskey any higher than 10th. Number 9, Paul Scholes. What a player he was. We never quite saw the best of him for England, though. Maybe a couple of names who are higher up this list might be at fault for that in terms of their dominance of those central midfield positions for England. Scholes has had a couple of goes in interim charge at Salford, where he's part of the ownership group with the rest of the class of 92. He did have 7 games in charge of Oldham. Meddling owner, we do agree it has been a bit bonkers at Oldham, but I had a look at the points per game and it wasn't great under Scholes. I think he got 6 points in those 7 games, which was below the rest of the season. Again, we don't have a big sample size for Scholes, but what we do have isn't really that great. Number 8, Iain Walker. Yes, probably not the first choice goalkeeper for the Golden Generation, but Iain Walker did managed Bishop Stortford for 9 months. He left them in 20th place in National League North, so it wasn't great. But we're going to put him above Paul Scholes just in terms of longevity, frankly. Number 7, Gary Neville. Poor old Gary Neville. He had such a great playing career, but I don't think a day goes by without him being ribbed about his ill-fated run as Valencia manager. Neville has openly admitted he wasn't ready for the job and he was doing Peter Lim, who is an owner over there, a big favour in doing the job. He was right, he wasn't ready. It went terribly. 3 wins in 16 in La Liga. There was that chastening 7-0 Copa del Rey defeat against Barcelona with Suarez and Messi destroying poor old Neville's Valencia. We won't put him any lower because he did do a fair turn as a coach and an assistant for England. But yes, Gary Neville's managerial career certainly ranks below his punditry career and his playing career. Number 6, Phil Neville. We'll let younger brother Phil get one over on Gary here. Wasn't the greatest manager for the England women's team was Phil. He did win the She Believes Cup, which is a friendly competition. A World Cup semi-final though, an Olympic qualification. He's transitioned over into the men's game now with David Beckham's Inter Miami franchise in MLS. They finished 11th of 14 last season. They are 11th now. We'll put Phil Neville in at 6. As you can see, so far, the bar is not high though. Number 5, David James. Yes, may not have been in Europe, but over in India, David James had 2 spells with the Kerala Blasters and in his first season finished 4th, got through in the playoffs to the Super League final only to fall at the final hurdle. He was rehired a couple of years later at the same club, managed to rescue things a little bit during the second half of the season without making the playoffs, but a little bit of a blot on the copybook in his final season where an 11-game winless run saw him fired. But best of a bad bunch so far. Number 4, Sol Campbell. I think we can give Campbell a huge tick in the box for the first season at Macclesfield. He came in with the club bottom and adrift in League 2 and managed to maintain survival by the end of the season. Bit of a bonkers ownership and situation at Macclesfield, and Campbell left at the end of the season. It was out of the frying pan into the fire with Southend. Similar situation, similar ownership issues still rumbling on, in fact, at Southend. Campbell comes in mid-season in League One, and it was the COVID season as well, and he could not get them to safety with the season curtailed as well. I suspect we'll see Campbell back. He's been quite outspoken about applying for a lot of jobs and not getting any. Someone will give him a job soon though, won't they? Number 3, Wayne Rooney. Let's just say this with the huge caveat of if Rooney keeps Derby in the Championship this season, I will remake this video and put him higher up the list. There's only 2 places higher. Frankly, Rooney is famously now the Derby County manager at a time where the club were deducted points for both going into administration and FFP infractions, minus 21. And as of now, they're still in the hunt for survival. Rooney took over last season as Derby manager. It wasn't great, to be honest, and we shouldn't forget that when we're doing our rankings here. They nearly got relegated and survived on the last day. Arguably, the points deduction for Sheffield Wednesday may have been the key factor there. Whatever you say about that, he's done a fantastic job this year. Rooney and Liam Rossini have done themselves proud. Recruiting really, really well. Putting together a ragtag team with no money that's good defensively, good at home, good against their rivals. And I repeat, if they stay up, he probably moves up ahead of the top 2 in this list. Number 2, Frank Lampard. Look, we can have the debate at the end of the season if Rooney does keep Derby up as to how Rooney's and Lampard's achievements at Pride Park stack up. What Lampard did, though, in getting Derby into the playoff final in 2018-19 was pretty impressive. I accept on the one hand that he did have Harry Wilson, Mason Mount, Fikayo Tomori all on loan. But on the other hand, that was a really, really hard championship season. And to get that close, the playoff final, and lose to the Villa side of Grealish, Mings and Abraham was a really, really good achievement for Lampard at Derby. Look, he couldn't ignore the call of Chelsea. And let's be fair, under the embargo at Chelsea to bring through the young players, finish 4th, if only he'd won that FA Cup final, maybe he would be right up the top of this list. The embargo got lifted, Thomas Tuchel became available, and out went Lampard. We're going to learn a lot more now. He's back, he's at Everton, and that's probably going to define, for those people who are unsure, good, bad, Lampard, where the truth actually lies. In terms of this list, I've got him second, but I would review that if Rooney keeps Derby in the Championship this season. Number 1, Steven Gerrard. I have to put Gerrard top of this list for one reason and one reason alone, is that management is about winning trophies, and trophies do tend to gazump other achievements. Yes, Lampard to the playoffs and seeing Chelsea through that embargo season, great. Yes, Rooney, if he can do it this season, a great achievement. But Stevie Gerrard, having worked through the age groups at Liverpool, went up to Glasgow Rangers, which is a hell of a cauldron to go and manage in, against that big rivalry with Celtic, and won that first league title, and he did it being undefeated as well. I think that achievement from Gerrard is the key achievement of anybody else in this list. He's now having a crack at Aston Villa. They're halfway up the Premier League. It's going to be an interesting battle with he and Lampard, who's at Everton. But for right now, this moment in time, I've got to have Steven Gerrard as the best manager out of the England Golden Generation. Let's get the debate going now in the comments. Get your feelings in. Let's keep it balanced. Let's keep it civil. And remember, especially if you support one of these teams that's being managed by one of these fellas, please leave your bias at the door. If you want to know a little bit more about my number 3, Wayne Rooney, do check out this video, which is having a look at the Championship relegation chase. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, get the debate going, and thank you for watching.